Hi everyone, welcome to Columbus State Television. I'm Michael Baltimore, and this is a very special event and a conversation today with two security experts. This is Cyber Security Week here at Columbus State University, and two people responsible for this, Loretta Marshall and Dee Spivey, are in the studio with us just off camera. They have been working to provide information to all of you, our students and folks in the community, so that we learn a little bit more about how to protect ourselves online, some of the very difficult things that are going on in our world, and just for us to be more aware. So I'm very pleased to be here today, and we're going to take a few minutes and talk about some of the issues that you need to know in order to make yourself a little more secure on the internet and in various places. Today I have with me Vicki Adams and Sarah Thomas, and I want to let you introduce yourselves just a little bit. Sarah, why don't we start with you? Tell us a little bit about you.
Absolutely. My name is Sarah Thomas. I'm a special agent with the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. I work in our Child Exploitation and Computer Crimes Unit, and my specialty of investigations is human trafficking and child sex trafficking.
Wow, that is very serious work right there. So I want to talk with you more about that, because I think the more we're aware and our public is aware of these kind of things, the more that we can offer assistance, help with these kinds of things, and maybe put an end to those kind of terrible crimes that are going on against women, but also children, as you said, and this trafficking kind of thing. It's very serious. Well, thank you so much for being here with us. I know we have a lot of questions for you today. And also we have Vicki Adams. Vicki, tell us a little bit about you.
Hi, I'm very glad to be here today. My title is a digital forensic investigator. I've been with the Bureau since 1997. Started out as a forensic auditor. They needed someone to be able to do computers, so they sent me for training, and so I've been doing computer forensics since 1997. Sarah and I work in the same unit. They do the investigations, the agents do, and then they would, if they get a cell phone or a computer, then they would bring it back to us, or sometimes we actually go with them, and then we pull the information off of the computers itself.
Well, it does seem like crime is, I don't want to say easier for the criminal, but now they have the internet, and they're able to cast a wider net, if you will, connect with other innocent people and victims to sort of pull into these crimes. And we should be more aware of what we're doing on the internet. I mean, can you both talk a little bit about the risk, maybe, for putting information online, and what certainly children and our college students and our adults out there and families and so forth need to know about the risk on the internet? It seems like when you put something on the internet, it's there permanently.
Sure. Yeah, it seems to be there. I mean, and there are things that you can go back and look for online. Some of the risks that are out there, obviously, you know of the risks of predators that are that come out, that kind of thing. But some of the things that you don't really think about is the information that you're actually putting out. For like college age or kids that are coming up in high school and going to go into college, they're posting pictures and they're doing things online, or they're creating their web pages or their Facebook pages, and you need to start thinking about what are people going to see when they see that. Right. What kind of response are you going to get from that? Because I know that employers today are going out and they're looking online at you and the things that you've posted.
Right.
So those are some of the risks, because there are people in Georgia that have not gotten jobs
because of the things they put on there. And you know, especially the younger folks are going to put things on and not really think about the consequences of those things that are out there, but it becomes wide open, sort of an open playing field for criminals, of people to exploit people, as well as we just mentioned, the employers are wanting to look back at your history. What kind of person are you?
Right.
What are some of you know, the character references about yourself that you've grown up? Now we all grew up and kids, and we made a lot of mistakes, and we probably did a lot of things and said things. Okay, we won't go there too much,
right.
But the idea is that if you put them out there, it becomes a permanent record almost, and people can track that, even though there are probably, I think you mentioned before the show, Vicki, that these programs that say they're only going to be there for a short amount of time really are much more than that.
Yes, yes. I mentioned Snapchat. Snapchat is something that is supposed to be, the kids think they're taking their picture and then it disappears. And it does from the screen, but the picture is actually still in the database on the phone. So it can still be gotten to.
Okay.
Identity theft is huge.
Yeah, let's talk
with the
about that
things.
just a little bit, because more and more people are stealing passwords and getting into the database. And I recently got something from a large company where I subscribe to a service, Adobe Systems, which does a lot of our software, sent me a letter and say, we've had a breach. We've had people come in and get information, and so immediately change your password and do some things like that. So this identity theft, how much is it going on? Is this something that is just kind of a nice little story over here, or is it more widespread than we know?
It's actually very widespread. It's probably one of the biggest, fastest growing crimes. I personally have had 2 credit cards compromised,
Right.
And
Yeah, it's probably happened to all of us
luckily
anyway.
the credit card companies caught them, and I didn't have this huge bill. But just maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, I had a call from or a notice in my email to contact security of a credit card company, and someone had tried to charge an airplane ticket on Qatar Airlines on a credit card of mine.
Wow. Okay, that's not even around Georgia anywhere that we know of. All right. So,
Technology has become a
Yes.
way of the future, and it's also becoming a way to assist criminals in committing crime.
Right.
They're able to use those resources and technology to assist them and to locate victims.
Well, I mean, if you're going after these kind of crimes, you become a hacker, or you just learn that information that's out there for all of us, but the rest of us are not paying attention to how you hack in and how you actually get into a system that's secure and those kind of things. Sarah, tell me a little bit about the GBI's role in all of this. You're an investigator. All right, so where do you get your information at the beginning? How does it come to you that you know there's something going on you need to investigate?
So the Georgia Bureau of Investigation is a request agency, which means we get requested in by various departments, police departments, sheriff's offices, the governor's office, DA's office,
okay.
where if there's a report of a crime and they want GBI's assistance because of our resources involving technology, we can step in. So we work all violent felonies. We work identity theft, we work child exploitation. Any crime that involves technology comes to our particular unit. But GBI as a whole, our field offices and our specialty offices can work any sort of crime that is requested of us.
So a lot of this may come from the local police station or sheriff's department and those kind of things. Is the regular citizen of Georgia, can we call you and say, hey, I've got some concern here, or did I need to go to my local resources there for that?
Typically, because we're a request agency, we have to get brought in by another department. However, with child exploitation, human trafficking, the governor's office has given us original jurisdiction, so we can initiate our own investigations if it's related to human trafficking or sex trafficking.
Okay, all right, let's talk about that for just a minute. That, I guess I'm not really aware that we had such a problem. Is this a big problem? Can you give me the scope of what this is like, and then tell me a little bit about your process. What do you do once you figure out there's some human trafficking going on, and what's the first step, and how do you proceed?
Absolutely. Well, the first step that we have taken as a unit, well, first off, our human trafficking unit and our child exploitation unit was created 2 years ago as a request from the governor's office.
Okay.
They identified that human trafficking was a very large problem, and that Atlanta and the surrounding cities were a hub for human trafficking. So the governor's office requested us to stand up a new unit, which we've done and now merged with child exploitation. And we've identified that Atlanta and the surrounding areas in Georgia are a very large problem, especially with our juveniles, our children that are 18 and under that are being forced into prostitution or exploited into sexual servitude.
Wow, that's horrible. So are these kind of gang related or big crime? I want to say corporations, but big crime that's actually carrying this out, or is this the small local group that's doing things? How does it work out?
We see a little bit of both, both individual and organized crime. because the offender, regardless of the level, has a business mindset. It goes down to making money.
Making money.
He no longer sees the victim as a person, it's a way to make profit.
Right.
So our gang members are trading victims back and forth. If a victim is either has too much attention and there's law enforcement looking for him or her, or not making enough money. We see families that are selling their own children to cover drug debts or to pay used car salesmen for a vehicle. So we're seeing a little bit of everything because it all comes down to that business mindset, and they do it in a different way.
Right. It sounds insane to me, some of this, that you would sell a child or traffic another human being to pay, excuse me, to pay a debt or buy a car. It is sad, isn't it? But the scope of this it's getting bigger. And Atlanta is the hub, you say, in the state?
Atlanta is one of the hubs in the country.
Oh, okay.
And there are various reasons for that have been proposed. There's a lot of studies that are looking into that, but
Right.
One of the main hypotheses is the interstate systems, where you can take Interstate 20 all the way over to the East Coast and then 85, 95 up and down, because the offenders with that business mindset are going to go where they can make the most money. And being a large flux of people in Atlanta and some of the bigger cities, you have the conventions, you have people coming in and out. So there's a lot of people that they can sell those children to and sell those men and women to.
Easy to get lost in the big city sometimes.
Absolutely.
And no one knows what happened. Now, is there illegal immigrants? Is that a part of this? Is that people from that are coming in, or these are children and others who are just absconded in the local area and that kind of thing?
We see a lot of both. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation specifically works domestic human trafficking. And Homeland Security and some of the other federal partners work the international nexus because they have more resources. But we're finding that children and adults can be sold in their own homes, in their own communities, in their own schools, or they can be moved from place to place to make more money. It just depends on the offender. If it's a parent or a family member doing it, they may do it in their own home. If it's in the schools, they may be recruited by some of the other students in the schools, or have offenders waiting outside the schools, and they look for vulnerabilities.
Right, they're looking for those people.
On the other thing you were talking about, absconded, it's not just somebody going out and grabbing a child.
Right, right.
A lot of these kids are throwaway kids. They feel like they don't have anybody, and that's where they feel love. The first case that we do operations. And the first case that I worked with, Sarah and them, for example, we went out and there was a young girl that was brought into the room with us. And when they brought her in, she was dressed like what you would think. But when she sat down and we started talking to her, she was a kid. And I was ready by the end of the night to take her home with me because we couldn't find anybody that cared enough to drive to get her.
Right. So kind of a lost kid out there, and then these people take advantage of that kind of vulnerability with these children and teenagers, I would assume, as well. And then and you mentioned a minute ago, is prostitution a part of this? Do they prostitute these folks out for money? Because it's all about money, as you said, Sarah. So
human trafficking is any sort of commercial sex act that's induced by force, fraud, or coercion.
Okay.
And that commercial sex act can be prostitution, it can be child pornography, it can be erotic and nude massages. It just depends, but the majority of what we see is forced prostitution.
Okay, okay. Wow, well, we're all getting educated this morning. I want to thank you guys for talking about those kind of things.
One thing I would like to mention, too, is that a lot of times you hear the term child prostitution. Well, we really need to start thinking about them as victims because they're victimized. And yes, they're doing these things that they're told to do, and maybe they did go with them willingly, but they're the victim because that's where they felt like they had to do it. And so I think if we stop using, say, the term child prostitution and start giving them that victim name, that as a community we can start thinking about them and caring about them in a different manner.
Well, I think it is important that we all become more aware and sensitive to these kinds of issues, and these kids are victims. Obviously, they can be kind of molded and shaped depending on what type of perpetrator and what their interests are in making money and those kind of things. But the internet is a big part of this. Again, this is Cybersecurity Week here at CSU, and I'm wondering about this internet. It's open for everybody, obviously. We use it a lot here. We're posting videos. We stream our television out to people. What are some of the risks? I mean, what should I do? If I'm a college student here at Columbus State University, for example, and I have Facebook account and Twitter, and I've got all of those kinds of social media kind of things going, as well as maybe in my own website, other things. What are the lessons? What should I be aware of to kind of protect myself from all this vulnerability out there?
You need to remember that first impressions are very important.
Right.
So the information that's put out there on any website is available to anybody.
Right.
And even if it's taken down, that information is still there. My mother used to tell me as a child, anything that's written down is permanent. And that's very true with the internet. Even though we have the delete button, it's still there.
Right. We may delete it from ourselves, but that ISP, that internet service provider, and all of that storage and all those digital. So we're leaving this digital trail. Somebody was talking the other day about the digital footprint. That when we look at what we have done, that now as our records, our hospital records, our school records, everything is going online into a digital file, that if you just stop for a moment and look back at everywhere you have used a card or paid for by check now, because checks get imprinted and put in a database, and everywhere you have had a digital contact with anyone, paying for something, anything at all, it's all stored out there, and somebody might be able to use that in some ways too. What do you think about this? I mean, how do we? What should we be a little more aware of? Obviously, we shouldn't post those pictures that that the employer is going to see out there. That we should know that, right, guys? All right, there we go. All right, but. What else can we do to kind of protect ourselves and be more aware?
Just be a little more savvy. If you get something and it sounds too good to be true, and it probably is too good to be true, don't believe in a lot of things. I shop online. I pay my bills online. I do a lot of stuff online. Now, some of my credit cards have gotten stolen, and that can happen.
But you have to be aware of it.
But you have to be aware of it.
Because if you don't check these things, if you just have an account out there with a card that you've used online and you just pay your monthly bill, but you don't go in and absolutely check your charges, you could be vulnerable then.
I check all of my credit cards online. I check my bank statements online. I watch for anything. And a lot of times they will, when they're using it, they will try a very small, less than $25 charge to begin with, a test, and if you don't check it and see that and go, hey, I didn't charge that, then, you know, sometimes your bank will catch it and sometimes it might not. Now, if it's a credit card, you're probably not going to have that big of a problem because you're probably not going to be liable for it. Your credit card companies are usually eating that.
Right.
But if it's a bank account and they take a lot of money out of your checking account, it can take you a little while to get it back. So you might be out of money for a little while.
Right. So what they do then is they try to use a small charge just to see if it'll work and if they're okay. If you lose a car or somebody in a restaurant, you know, they used to talk about the little duplicates where they would run. I think they're probably different now. We're kind of moving in the digital age a little bit more, but they would keep those imprints of your card and then use that data to get it. So you have to be a little more careful there. But those are the kind of things that we have to really kind of monitor. If we are doing anything on the internet, we should monitor it.
Exactly. And then when you're going in, and when it's not just what you post online, I know for a fact that I probably know all of my friends by name. I probably know who they are, but I may not know everything that they do. So their security set up may be different on their Facebook page, where I may have mine tightened down to friends only, but if you do friends of friends and then they do anybody, then it could be your stuff could still be getting out there. So you just need to be watch everything and just be careful of what you are placing.
Wow, this has been very interesting today. It is amazing how much technology is a part of our world, and how it can be used against us. Most of us are sort of like, okay, this is a happy little experience. I can go get information and share with my friends and so forth, but there's a seedy side, there's a darker side of this, and that's where you guys come in, kind of protect us from some of this craziness out there in the world. All right, so final word here during Cybersecurity Week here at Columbus State University. I'll pose a question to each of you as we finish here. What is it that our audience needs to know about what you do, and inform them about something that you think they want to, what we call a takeaway? What is it that you want this audience to take away from your visit here at Columbus State today?
We have personally seen the damage and destruction that technology can do on very good people. Pictures being posted, information being posted that either gets stolen or used against them in jobs or education-related settings. But on the human trafficking side, we also see that a lot of the information is being used against the victims or used against good people to try and recruit them into trafficking or into prostitution or into things that they wouldn't normally do. Just as the offenders used to walk around the street trying to find people, now they have all that information in front of them. So just be very careful about what's posted for their own safety, but know that there are predators out there that are using that technology to find them and to recruit them, to pick their interests, to find commonalities between them and use that against them that way.
All right, that's a very good thought. You know, sometimes we hear, and as we're watching TV, that somebody takes a different identity. I could be a 17-year-old and put a picture of another totally different person up there, and then you respond to me as a 17 when it might be very different than that.
Very true, and
so
we work those cases not only where offenders are changing their identity, but we change our own identities as well. In an undercover setting.
Oh, okay. I like it. A little sting operation maybe in some of that. So, all right, that's good. We got to go after these guys who are out there trying to get these problems. All right, thank you, Sarah. Vicki, what do you think?
I would say the internet's a wonderful place. It has a vast amount of information that's out there, and I use it and love the internet all the time. And my takeaway would be, you know, don't be scared. That's the last thing that we want to do is scare people. That scare tactic a lot of times doesn't work anyway. Just be careful. And, you know, if you've got, you know, younger kids coming up, or brothers and sisters, or, you know, whoever that is coming up, just train them to do to be careful in the things that they do and to protect themselves, as we did and as people did for me as I was growing up without the internet. I was trained how to go out into the world and be careful. And that's all we really are having to do now. It's just a different world.
Yes, we really do have to be aware of what's going on in this internet. It's every day. It's in our lives. We carry around these devices all day. We're always connected, plugged in, and things can go wrong. Well, I want to thank my guest today, Vicki Adams from GBI, as well as Sarah Thomas, a special agent here. So we want to thank you for viewing. This is Cybersecurity Week here at Columbus State University. We hope this has been helpful to you, and please be aware, keep your guard up, and be careful on that internet out there. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Michael Baltimore here at Columbus State Television. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.